And that is exactly what we were sharing. The golden rule of personal finance is to save first and then spend. And you have just shared this, and that's so powerful. On that note, welcome everybody to the session today. Thank you for taking out time and joining us today. We really appreciate your taking out time and joining the session. You might be familiar with the person whose picture is here. He is Mr. Warren Buffett, and he is amongst the top 10 richest people in the world. He's worth more than $100 billion. And he says, and he's a person who has made all his money by investment. So when he says, what is the best investment, it means a lot. And he says, the most important investment that you can make is in yourself. And, each one of you should thank yourself for making the investment of time in your learning and, improving the financial future of your family. So please raise your hand like this. Please put on your camera, raise your hand like this, and then pat yourself for making this investment of time in educating yourself. This is the best investment that you can make. And it is my promise that Avdesh and I will make this investment of time worth your while. The session today is the second one in the series of the Millionaire Blueprint. The first session was last Saturday, and in the session today, Avdesh is going to talk about how to de-risk the plan. So last Saturday, we discussed about how to make a plan to become a dollar millionaire. And in the session today, we're going to talk about how to de-risk it and how to work further on your wealth creation strategy. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Avdesh is a ex-colleague and a dear friend, and he has worked in leading financial institutions like GE Money, Citibank, Standard Chartered Bank, where he was a director. He has held senior management positions in organizations. He has been a CFO and CEO of very large companies. So Avdesh, thank you for taking out time and joining with us.
Thank you, Ashish, for generous introduction. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And one disclaimer I would like to make: Avdesh is my financial planner, not only mine, for my wife and for my mom also. So he's the first person I go to for any financial advice that I need. Before I begin, let me take a minute to introduce myself, as some of you are joining us for the first time. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I am the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018 with a mission to help 1 million working professionals lead healthier, happier, and wealthier lives. Prior to starting Mindful Living, I worked in the corporate sector in senior management roles with organizations like Xerox, Tata Group, Future Group, HCL Group, and Dabur Group. In the last 3+ years, we have conducted more than 250 sessions for employees in the leading organizations like Aditya Birla Group, Tata Group, IBM, EXL, Kotak Life, SDFC Life, Schneider, Signify, and many others, helping their employees become more productive, happier at work. The session today is part of our community initiative, which we started during COVID times in April 2020, and we connect every Saturday on themes related to mindfulness, on application of mindfulness in today's life. The session today is divided into 2 sections. In the first section, we're going to talk about how to protect, how to put a boundary around your strategy so that irrespective of what happens to you, your family's financial future is definitely secure. And in the second part of the section, we are going to talk about the wealth creation strategy. I would like to pause here for a minute and hear from you any expectations that you have from the session today. You can unmute yourself or type your expectations in the chat box. In case you would like to speak, you can raise your hand. Okay, let me continue and we will capture your expectations as we go along. The session today is not a podcast, so request you to please keep your cameras on. And this is also not an entertainment show where you can lean back and enjoy and watch yourself. Please keep your notepad and pen ready and take notes, because we're going to recap the previous session, and we're going to share strategies in this session which it'll be worth your while to make notes of. फाइनेंस की बात आती है तो लोग बहुत सीरियस हो जाते हैं, तो मैंने सोचा एक थोड़ा सा कार्टून लगा दें, लोगों को थोड़ा सा लाइटन अप हो जाएंगे आप. lot of people keep worried about what's going to happen, so this is not doom but zoom. I have this constant sense of impending zoom. This is zoom fatigue. The session today is we are going to be sharing the learnings from Dave Ramsey. The reason we are showing his pic to you is because you can Google him up and use the many interviews and videos that are there given by him. His claim to fame is that he was a millionaire in his early 20s, and then he went bankrupt, and then he became a multimillionaire again using the strategies that he teaches now. So what he teaches is the basis of what we are going to share in the session today. I'm an MBA in finance and I'm a cost accountant, but I always used to think that the finance is a very technical session. It is only when I started following Dave Ramsey, I realized finance is more about behavior than about knowing and knowledge. And the things that we're going to share with you today is maybe you already know them, but what we're going to try and do is share a perspective with you so that it motivates you to take action and create $1 million strategy and de-risk it for yourself and for your family. This is my favorite quote from Dave Ramsey, which exhorts us to live minimalistically. He says, we buy things we don't need. And this is something, which has been, which all of us have realized in Corona times, that we have got much more than what we need. With money we don't have, and to impress people we don't like. So on that note, we will move forward and recap some of the things that we discussed last time. If there is someone who has attended the part 1 of the session also and would like to share, I'd like to pause here and hear from them. Otherwise, I'll go on. So I'll pause for a couple of seconds to see if anybody would like to share their takeaways from the last session. You can put it in the chat, friends. What we talked about last time was asset and liability and income and expenses. Basic concepts, but very profound takeaways from there. What are the physical assets and financial assets, and how we should not put, how and why we should not put all of our eggs in one basket. What is net worth, and why all the rich people focus on increasing their net worth, whereas the poor focus on increasing their income. And when I say poor and rich, it's a mindset. It's not the amount of money you have got. So the people with the rich mindset are focused on increasing their net worth. That is what we discussed about. And in case you would like to, in case you didn't attend the previous session, we are going to share the link in the chat. You can use that to go and watch the video of the previous session at a time that's convenient to you. Education is the best investment, we've already talked about. And the golden rule of personal finance, which is to save first before you spend, irrespective of the amount that you save. But that it is more about mindset, making a commitment that I'll save first before I spend. That's what creates wealth. And this is how rich keep getting richer, because they use their income to create assets that generate cash. That is the secret of how rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer, because they spend all their income. And then we talked about good debt and bad debt and active income and passive income. So that's the recap of the previous session. Moving on. I'm assuming that you have put in place your strategy to become a dollar millionaire. And what we are going to talk about today in the session is what to do to make sure that strategy is foolproof. It is protected. जैसे हम पेड़ लगाते हैं तो उसके चारों तरफ एक बाड़ी लगा देते हैं. वो कैसे बाड़ी लगाए जिससे कि आपका जो वेल्थ क्रिएशन का जो पेड़ है वो हमेशा बढ़ता रहे और उसको कोई गाय बकरी आके खा ना जाए. That is our endeavor today. It's about risk management. And this is the best model that I have come across for financial planning, which I haven't seen too many financial planners talk about, and very few advocate actively. The base of this pyramid is protection. And what do we protect against? There are a couple of things we need to protect against. One is life. एक बिहेवियरल इकोनॉमिक्स में कॉन्सेप्ट होता है इररेशनल ऑप्टिमिज्म का, जिसमें हमको लगता है कि हम हमेशा जीते रहेंगे, हम सिर्फ अमर हैं, हम कभी मरेंगे नहीं, और जल्दी मरेंगे ये तो कभी सोचते ही नहीं. बट द फैक्ट ऑफ लाइफ इज accidents happen, people, the pandemics happen, and there are many other things happen because of which people lose their lives. I lost my father at an early age due to a heart attack, but fortunately for us, his friend, our family friend, was an LIC agent who had sold him lots and lots of life insurance policies, and that money came in very, very healthy to us. So if you are the income generating asset of your family, it is mandatory for yourself to protect your wealth creation, to protect your plant, money plant, to buy insurance. One thumb rule of insurance is, life insurance is, that you should have at least 10 times of your income as the life insurance amount, as the sum insured. And it is not expensive. A lot of people think buying insurance is expensive, but today you could buy 1 crore life insurance for as low as 400 rupees per month or 500 rupees per month. So if there is someone who is calling you, in touch with you to sell life insurance, please listen to him, understand what he's trying to say, and get yourself covered adequately. It is the most important thing that you can do. The second most important thing to cover, to protect yourself against, is health. In the times like pandemic, I got COVID about 1.5 years back, and I got hospitalized, and that whole month I could not walk. And on top of that, there were heavy hospital bills to be taken care of. But while I have created passive income, so it didn't impact my family so much. What is passive income? You can watch the YouTube video of our previous session and understand what passive income is. I had created that passive income stream for myself, so my family expenses were taken care of. And because I had health insurance, my hospitalization expenses were taken care of, and I was okay. So if you don't have health insurance, please buy health insurance. Chronic diseases are very popular these days, diabetes, BP, cancer, so many diseases and ailments are there. These will become very, very expensive to treat in the days to come. And most of the insurance companies today cover these ailments, which earlier didn't happen. So buy that and cover yourself. The third risk is disability. हमको लगता है हमारा एक्सीडेंट तो होगा नहीं, हमको भगवान बचा रहे हैं, but होते हैं एक्सीडेंट. One of my friends, on the last day he completed his engineering, he was traveling back from his college to his hometown, and he was traveling in a bus, and the bus met with an accident, and he lost his right hand. And his story is very inspirational. You can go and look it up on our YouTube channel. We will share the link of our YouTube channel in the chat. You can look up the story there. But the fact is, people meet accidents and they have disability, and it's important for us to. And he lost his right hand, and it's a very motivating, empowering story. How he came up after that, how he got admission into one of the best management colleges in India, one of the IIMs, and he's a very successful career executive today. So this is the third thing. First thing, protect your life. Second thing, protect your health. Third thing, protect your disability. These are the things that we should, if you have not already done it, you should do it. And in case you have already done it, review the amount of cover that you have got. Get in touch with a financial consultant who will advise you what's the right kind of cover. The next thing in the protection is emergency saving. And emergency saving is the amount of funds that you set aside, God forbid, if an emergency were to happen. And this should be about 3 months to 12 months of your monthly expenses. The different financial planners will give you different estimates. It will also be a function of the kind of job you have, It will be a function of whether you are the only earning member or you have other people earning in your family. So these are the things which will determine, but 3 months to 12 months of expenses you should put aside. And believe you me, creating this emergency fund puts you in such a good mental space that actually emergencies never come. This was one of the first things I had done before I started before I started my journey as an entrepreneur, that I reached out to Abdesh and created an emergency fund with him. And believe you me, that fund has remained intact. I have not had to draw into the fund for meeting the monthly expenses or any other expenses. So creating an emergency fund. So friends, when you create this first level of protection, then whether we live or we die, the money will be there for the family. Whether we are healthy or we are sick, there will be money for the family. Whether we are able or disabled, there will be money for the family. Whether we are in job or out of job, there will be money for the family. So this is like creating a money well, which will ensure that the money is always there for the family. This financial planning is based on the pyramid principle. Pyramids are the oldest structures on planet Earth, and this financial planning structure is based on that. So if you build your financial plan on the basis of pyramids, then it will remain rock solid and nothing will be able to shake that. So that's on the protection. I'll move on and I'll have Abdesh talk more about the savings and investment part. And it's also important when you're planning your life insurance to take into account the debt that you have and have cover for the debt. Otherwise, even the 10 times of your income may not be sufficient to cover. So that's on the protection side. I'll pause here to see if you have any comments or questions before I invite Abdesh to take this forward. You can raise your hands and speak, or you can put your comments in the chat. Thank you, Madhu. Okay, friends, if you have any, yes, sorry, who's there? If there are no questions, yeah, someone's speaking. If there are no questions, then we will move on. And if you can type your questions in the chat, and we will take them up towards the end of the session. Thank you for listening patiently, and over to you, Abdesh.
Thanks, Ashish. Just allow me to share this screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish, once again. And Ashish, as Ashish talked about the insurance part, why insurance is required. Insurance is a protection mechanism. Insurance is not an investment. So please understand that what we buy in insurance has to be a pure insurance, and it has to be for protection. And so it's for financial protection. So in a simple way, how we should look at the insurance is that it is to replace a financial loss. It is to cover a financial loss. That's the value of it. That's why you need to take an insurance which is only covering your financial. Don't overbuy the insurance, neither underbuy the insurance. So in that case, and insurance available at very, very cheap cost. So what happens, the way it is sold, the market, how the insurance market is today, it is sold in a very, very, I would say, immoral, unethical way. So if you go to the bank or these insurance agents come to you, they will not sell the right kind of policy. They will sell the policy where they have the maximum revenue. So it's good to know that insurance come at a very cheap price. If you buy a simple life insurance, it's going to come at 1 crore insurance can come anything like 6,000-7,000 rupees for a young person for a year. Medical emergency insurance are available. Most of the corporate employees are covered in the medical emergency. The requirement of buying a separate insurance is not there much unless you are above 45 or something like that. Then that's the only time when you should look at buying a separate insurance, medical insurance for yourself. Otherwise, if your employer is covering you, and if you think it is not adequate, then you can just buy a small additional cover, which comes as a very, very minimal price. And then you also need to cover your house property, um, and your household goods as well, which are inside. If you are into a business, then there are different kind of risks which are associated with the business. So it depends on the kind of business you are running. Sometimes an individual person can be very important for a business or enterprise. Then one needs to buy insurance um, covering a loss because of that person, or you might have a liability towards third party in some cases. So that's a little complicated, but for our personal users to understand, buy very cheap insurance, not expensive. Don't end up buying ULIP policies or endowment policies, which are sold to you as an investment, not as an insurance. If you have to buy insurance, buy just plain simple. That will take care of your financial protection. So that is the most important part. If you are protected financially, then you can build an empire on that. That's the basis of a building. So we move further that about post the insurance. Let's understand the debt part. As an Indian, we have been taught to be debt averse, but not that every debt is bad. And neither I'm saying that you should borrow too much. So what is the purpose to borrow and what is the price to borrow? That is what we need to look at. So for education, for learning, one should borrow. It's not a problem. Even if we have to borrow and educate itself, one should do, because that's an investment also. You should take a loan for your home mortgage, because the loan comes at a very good, very low price. Today there's a subvention also on the loan available if it's a smaller house. But say even if you are not eligible for the subventions from the government, the loans are coming in the vicinity of around 7%. That's the rate, probably less than 7% most of the cases. So it's always better to borrow for a mortgage, because even if you have money, you might as well use that money for a better purpose, or probably generating a more income out of that. Sometimes what happens, if people have surplus money, they rush to repay their home loan at something which is available for less than 7% today. There should not be a hurry to pay. Even if you have to pay installment, you pay installment. You can use that money park somewhere else to earn better for you. And you should always have money to repay. You should have a capacity to write a check and pay your mortgage. If that is very good, but it doesn't mean that you have to go and pay your mortgage so early. Because if you run it for that, same money can generate you something good. Business loan one should take at the kind of price, depending on the price you are getting. So in nutshell, one should take loan if you can generate more than that on from that money. If you are, so that's why I would suggest, don't borrow on credit card. Don't just take loan for buying a fancy car. One should buy a car, but just because loan is available, don't go and indulge in buying some fancy car. Store loan available from store, or personal loan or something like that, because these loans are expensive and you won't be able to generate money in surplus, basically. So by using that money, you're not going to generate. Credit card loan are disasters, because they actually put you into very bad situation for a long term. We discussed in the previous session also that one might get into a vicious kind of debt cycle, or chakravyuh, as we say. So avoid borrowing on the credit card. That's a strict no borrowing on the credit card. We know this gentleman, this is Warren Buffett. Once somebody asked, this was a radio interview, he was asked that, is it very difficult to get rich? And he answered no. But no one wants to get rich slowly. So basically what he's trying to say, there is a virtue of patience, there's a value in patience. If you plan and be disciplined, you will get rich. But don't try to be rich instantly, because as instantly you get rich, it will fall back also. Most important, very important, that is that we have to have our goals very, very clear while we are investing. So don't invest without a goal. People, if they have surplus money, they just go and put their money in some or other. They'll buy a house, they'll buy ULIP policy, they'll either invest in the stock market with surplus money. Avoid doing that. Fix on your goals first. So if you know goal, you know how much to invest, how to reach to that goal. The planning aspect is extremely important, and we'll just discuss about what kind of goals you might have. These are the main goals which we have in our life: children education, their marriage, our own retirement, buying house, car, vacation. There can be some more goals also, depending on what you like. But these are the most important goals probably we will have in our life. So if we plan for this goal, we know when we have to achieve a goal. If you have a child whom you want to send for education after 5 years, then you'll need to plan accordingly. But if you have a child whom you need to send for education after 15 years, then planning is going to be entirely different and your risk and return is going to be entirely different. So please have a sight of your goal. And when you are buying products, when you're selecting any kind of financial product or any kind of investments, have these criteria in mind. Whether it beats inflation in the sense that inflation in our economy currently, consumer price inflation is around 5.5%. Long-term inflation, we'll have a separate discussion on that. What is how inflation impacts our life? So there has to be a product which beats inflation. It should be able to give you more than that, more than the inflation. It has to be liquid in the sense that if you want to cash it out, you can cash it out at a faster pace. So if you get into an investment which takes time to liquidate, it's not a good kind of investment, because liquidity is equally important. It's not only the net worth. Probably liquidity is something which one has to look at very, very carefully. Flexibility, in the sense that you should be able to move in and out of the investment very, very easily, and should be a low cost. Cost of doing a transaction should not be very high. It should be, if one can save some taxes out of it, or the tax implication is low when you earn profit out of it. And finally, it has to meet your financial goal. That is extremely important. The financial goal has to be. Now, friends, look at this. What we have seen in the inflation. No, we are looking at the price of 1990 and currently what the prices are. So petrol, which used to be available for less than 10 rupees in 1990, is now near 100 rupees. In some state went above 100, has come down, but it's in the vicinity of 95 to 100 rupees now. And the inflation on petrol is 7.8%. On diesel, it's even higher. On milk, this is the kind of inflation which we have seen. So inflation is eating into our wealth or our investments. So here is a figure towards the right side. If you look at the slide, that the value of 10,500 today was actually 1 lakh. What you can buy for 10,500, what you could buy for 10,500 in 1990, today for the same thing you have to pay around 1 lakh to buy the same kind of goods and services. So that is the impact of inflation. We are almost 10 times more, though inflation is around 6 times, but that's 10 times more expensive for us to live. And this does not take lifestyle inflation. It doesn't take inflation on your healthcare, basically, and it also does not take inflation on education. Probably the inflation in those areas are even higher than the normal inflation. So inflation is something which is impacting our life on a daily basis. So what 10,000 rupees today is not going to be 10,000 after 10 years down the line. It is going to be much lesser. Look at the scenario, how the inflation is going to impact us in the future. So assuming that somebody of 30 years of age, a small family of 2 and a young child of 1 year. Now, if one has to send a child for a private education, you can assume a cost of 25 lakh, depending on what kind of education it is. It can be more or it can be less also. But this is just, we have taken a ballpark figure of 25 lakh rupees. And after 16 years, same is going to be around 67 lakh 30,000. This amount. So what is 25 lakh today? If you have a young child, 1 year old, and you have to send him for education after 16 years, then this is the amount you need to provide. If a marriage costs 25 lakh rupees today, after 25 years, it's going to cost above 1 crore rupees. Same scale of marriage. If one can retire, and one wants to retire today, and its monthly expense of 40,000, after 30 years, it's going to be 2.3 lakh rupees at the same rate of inflation. So retirement corpus for somebody will need is around 5 crore rupees this person. So the inflation is impacting our life. What today looks very comfortable may not be comfortable tomorrow. And particularly this field I want to cover because we feel that future retirement challenges are much more, because pension mechanism doesn't exist anymore. Even for the government employee or public sector employees, we do not have pension mechanism further. So one is on its own. So one has to save in its lifetime, by working lifetime, for its older years or golden years post retirement. Now let's why are the reasons why retirement is such a challenge? Because average life expectancy of Indian is 73, which used to be 49 at the time of independence. So now average Indian lives for 73 years old, and the life expectancy in say in middle class or higher middle class or rich people is even higher. It's around 85 to 90 years now. So you'll look at people around you at 85; they are living a healthy life. Now, it's very good to see people living that long, but living long is a financial risk because you have to provide for more post your retirement year, post your working life. Pension mechanism doesn't exist for the employees, even for the public sector government employees now. So people who are around 40, 35 to 40, who have joined even the government employment, they will not be eligible for a pension post their retirement. And interest rates are falling. As the economy matures, the interest rates keep falling. You look at the developed world, interest rates are 2%. In some economies, it has been negative also. So the interest rate will keep falling in our country also. And if you look at the last 20, 25 years, 20 years back, FD rate used to be upwards of, they were sometimes they were in 12, 13%, like, in double digit or mid double digit kind of rate we used to get in FD. Today, what you are getting less than 6% on your FD. So interest rates are falling and it will continue to fall. So how does interest rate impact the retirement? Let's say your cost of living is 1 lakh rupees today. So after 20 years, that is going to be 5%. 20 years, it's going to be 2.65 lakh rupees at the rate of 5%. That's the normal inflation which I have taken, a very simple calculation. So today's 1 lakh is 2.65 lakh. So if you think you will be providing for 1 lakh rupees for your retirement, that's not going to be enough. You need to provide for this much money. So and you have to provide for a longer time because your life expectancy is higher. So your life expectancy is 85, then you have to provide for 20 to 25 years post your retirement. Interest rates are falling. This is the third problem which we have. The interest rates are falling. So how does it impact us? Let's say on a 1 lakh rupees, you earn an interest of 7%, and the interest, which is 7,000 rupees, the interest rate falls by another 1%. So you earn 6,000 rupees. So it's a drop of 14.28%, 1/7 in your income. It is the interest rate drop maybe 1%, but the income drop is 14.28%. And the way interest rates are falling, retirees are going to suffer. The corpus is not going to be enough for you. So then you have to do these factors are so important. So if you're planning for retirement, you have to take care of these factors. There's inflation, there's a falling interest rate on which you will depend for your income, and your age is you'll have to provide for 25 years, 30 years post retirement. Now here, friends, I'll ask a question from you. There's a trained pilot, and there's somebody like me or one of us who are not a trained pilot. If both of us are flying a plane, who's going to take a risk? Where the risk lies? Please write in the chat box who is taking a risk. I am taking a risk by flying a plane, or a pilot is taking a risk by flying. I'll look for your answer in the chat box.
Hello, can you please repeat the question? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So question is, if a trained pilot is flying a plane, and somebody like me who doesn't know to fly a plane is flying a plane, who's taking a risk in this case? BL Harish says pilot is taking a risk. Okay. Can I get some more answers?
Both are taking the risk.
Okay. Okay. Some more. Okay.
What you haven't clarified is the pilot also in the aircraft when you are flying the plane?
No, he's not in the aircraft. So, assuming so.
Then my answer stands.
Sure. And plane is with me only. So, all right. Okay. So, let me explain the concept of risk here. Risk is where the uncertainty is. Okay. So if I am flying a plane, there's no uncertainty. You know what is going to happen. It will probably not fly. If it fly, it will not land, or it will land, and what will happen? We know this. Anyway. So there's no risk with me flying because we know the outcome very well. The pilot has a risk because there is a very small possibility that pilot can also go wrong, or weather condition can be bad or something like that. In my case, if everything is fine, still I'll bang the plane, or I'll do some disaster with the plane because I'm not trained. So why there is a risk with pilot? He's trained, but still he can make a mistake. I'm not trained, so I will definitely make a mistake. So there's a certainty of mistake here. So whenever there is an uncertainty, it's a risk.
But I have a question to ask you, Abdesh.
Yes.
You're saying if I'm going to fly the plane, I for sure know that I'm going to goof up because I don't know how to fly it.
Yes, yes.
So for myself to go with an untrained version and knowing that I will make a mistake, isn't that a bigger risk than putting, securing myself with a known guidance?
See, why I'm saying it is no with me flying the plane is no risk because the outcome is certain. So most of the people will actually not even go. See, risk is where there is an uncertainty. No, yes, or there is something in between yes and no. Here, we know what is going to happen. We absolutely know what is going to happen. Yeah. So there's no risk. I mean, nobody will go. It's a society. No, the risk is where there is uncertainty.
What Avdesh is trying to say is, even if you have your own money, do not try to invest it on your own. Come to me. He is the trained person. The risk is less.
Okay.
You might earn your money.
Thank you. I think you can take over the presentation. I should.
I think Avdesh, that particular question needs to have a second element to it. Would you sit in a plane flown by a pilot, or would you sit in a plane flown by a non-pilot?
No, you don't have to sit in a plane. Even if, let's say, empty plane is there, the results are known. So, thank you very much for your inputs. The idea was saying that you have to be trained. You have to have expertise for doing something, and you have to rely on expert. Don't try to do everything on your own. And that's the reason you need to have a good financial advisor. But what happens when people, this profession is so abused? The kind of people you get, they're not trained, they've not dealt with financial market, they've not worked in the financial world, and the integrity is another important part. So you need to look for a financial advisor which has right kind of training, education, and integrity. Take your time to fix on a financial advisor and be with him for a long time. Don't go to everyone or anybody who comes and listen to him about the financial markets. Okay, so let's look at this history of Indian stock market. I somehow couldn't find the last 1 year chart, but this is since 1980. Bombay Stock Exchange, which is close to 60,000 now, 58 or 60,000, is actually started from 1st of April 79. So the value of BSE Sensex on 1st of April 79 was 100, which is today's close to 60,000. So this is the kind of growth which we have seen in the index, and in between all the kind of events have happened. So we had economic crisis in 1990 when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, and he sort of opened Indian economy. We had Harshad Mehta scam. We are seeing that serial nowadays, so popular movie, and it was put on native platform is available. We had different events. Vajpayee government came, Vajpayee government went, and then in 2008 we saw Lehman Brothers crisis, which you can see this side. Kind of fall we have in index. And last year we saw in the last 2 years we have been seeing COVID, and there was a sharp fall and rise in the stock market because of COVID. Now, so we have all these events, which are happening. But with all the kind of disastrous event which we have seen in our in last 20, 30 years or 40 years, the market has still gone up and has given you around 15 to 16% kind of compounding return. But how, despite of this, a lot of investors actually don't make money in the market. If you stay in the market will give you this kind of return. But a lot of people don't make good return in the equity. And what is the reason for that? One is that, as a normal person, we don't have time. We don't have time because this is also a expert job. One has to look at one has to study the market, one has to study the companies, one has to study the different businesses which are being done by the company. So you need time for doing this. Second, you need expertise. You have to be a financial expert. You need to have the right kind of education. You must have spent good amount of time reading balance sheet, reading businesses. And then you don't have information. Now, let's say if I have time and expertise, but I'm just having a 2-3 lakh rupees to invest, and I call at Infosys office, let's say I like Infosys, and I call their office and say, I want to invest money in your company, but I need to talk to your management because I want to understand more about your company. What will happen? Probably they'll tell me a few kind words and will not listen to me. But if somebody is coming with 100 crore, 200 crore rupees, they will probably send a Mercedes to his home office, wherever, to bring him to Infosys office and entertain him and tell him everything about the company and their future plans. So even if we have expertise, time, but we may not have information, and we don't have a size of portfolio, because unless you have that size of portfolio, you won't be able to diversify and not be able to get the information about the company. And the market is very volatile. The market is very volatile. Every day it does crazy things. So it's very difficult for people to understand those kind of volatility in the market. And that's the reason, despite of market giving such kind of return of 15-16% compounding over such a long period, there are people who have lost money in the stock market. Mostly a normal investor doesn't make that much money in the stock market and end up losing money in the stock market. So for this reason, one who does not understand the stock market, or probably don't have all this kind of expertise, time, and cannot bear the volatility, should take a mutual fund route, because they have a professional management. They have educated people, who have spent good amount of time researching the industry and company and being in the market. So you should rely on a professional management. And there is a diversification in the sense that if there's a large corpus of money, one can diversify many companies and many sectors or many kind of businesses. Whereas with a small amount of money, it may not be possible. The cost of operation is low. However, there is some cost because there is expert management and you need to pay for them as well. There's a cost is low. Liquidity is high. You can get your money at a very short notice. It's the most transparent industry probably because it is regulated by SEBI and every information is available on a click of a button on their website. So it's very transparent. There's a flexibility. If you don't like a fund, you can move to other fund. If you don't like a particular sector, you can move to other sector. There are various choices of schemes. These are so well regulated. SEBI is such a good watchdog, doing a great job in India. And there are tax benefits also, which government provides in various kinds of schemes. That's the reason mutual fund is, for a normal investor, for average investor, it's a safe place to be, a regular way of investing in the mutual. Now, when we say mutual fund, we normally think of only equity-based mutual fund. But these are not only equity-based mutual fund. There are debt mutual fund also, and debt market is actually twice the size of equity market. But it's mostly an institutional market. That's why you don't know much about the debt market. But debt market is huge. It's bigger than the equity market, what we saw Sensex or Nifty. So if you have for less than 1 year money, then you need to put in a liquid fund, which is a kind of debt fund, or short-term funds. If you need for a medium duration, 1 year to 3 year, 4 year, then you can put in debt fund. But if you are in the long run, then that's the time you need to put in. So debt funds give you a lot of options, and people don't know much about debt funds. So if you have a good financial planner, you'll be able to tell you about the debt fund. And debt can be secured and unsecured. Secured is something which is backed by an asset, and unsecured is something which is not backed by asset. Just have a look at the kind of performance the mutual funds have given over a long period of time. So 15 years, last 15 years, diversified funds have given 16.6. Large cap funds have given 16%. All 16, 19% hybrid funds have given 14%. But with a longer time, then probably returns are even better. And these are average scheme which were existing 15 years. So it's not good scheme or bad scheme which we have taken. This is all the ST which are existing. So these are the kind of return which you have. So basically what I'm trying to communicate is longer the time, more time you spend in the market, more time you give to fund managers, better the returns. As we talked last time, the compounding is eighth wonder of the world. So if somebody of 25 years of age starting a SIP of 5,000 rupees at the age of 25, getting the same kind of return, 13% and 30%. Somebody who's 30-year age, if we compare this two people, 25-year age, 30-year age, one starting at 25, one starting at 30 years. So if you, when both of them reach 55, probably somebody who started just 5 years early will have twice the money of the other person. So this person who's 30-year age with the 5,000 SIP at 13% return will end up making 1 crore 13,000. This person will make around 2 crore 21. So 5 years is something which has given him phenomenal return. So I will suggest you people, if you've not started your financial planning, if you've not started the right kind of track, treat it as urgent. Don't delay this. Don't think that, what will you do after 2 years, 1 or 2 years will also hit you the same kind of thing. It will not. Because that's the time the cost is going to be more, and inflation is already taken 2 years. So I will, and towards the end, Ashish will talk about.
Yeah. So this SIP, I recently 2018 I started. As you rightly said, I just didn't even calculate. So last week after this webinar thing, Teaser, I just calculated. As you rightly said, the returns are really attractive. So I plan to maybe keep it for next 10 years, hopefully. But tell me one thing: in the eventuality of any kind of withdrawal for education or something, is it wiser to withdraw from this or some other option?
So see, as I said earlier, there has to be a plan. So SIP also you are doing for a purpose. Okay.
Yes.
When you need the money for purpose, you should withdraw it. That's the reason you make the investment.
Okay.
Okay. If your purpose is arriving, then you have to withdraw the money from that. Okay. But if the purpose is not there, then I would suggest don't withdraw till the time you need the money. Maybe your child education, or maybe for your retirement planning, or maybe for marriage of your child. When the event arrives, that's the time you need to withdraw the money. Okay.
One more technical question within SIP. There is something called exit load or something for units. There are certain things which come without exit load. So generally the person, when I spoke to him, the call center said, sir, if you withdraw without the exit load, they don't deduct anything. Otherwise, a small deduction would be there, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
So what we do, just park this question for the time being. Okay. Sure. I'll answer this. Let's finish with the presentation, and then we'll take all the questions. Please take up this question at that point of time. All right. Okay. So Ashish, please take over from here, and let's move ahead. Thank you, Ashish, for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Avdesh, for explaining this in a very simple manner. These are very complex terms, but you have taken pains to explain them in a simple manner, which will help many people. So, friends, we will kind of pause here and like to hear from you. What have been your takeaways, or if you have, any question or comment to share, we'll be happy to hear from you. Either from this session or the previous session. Thank you, Harishji. So while we are waiting for the comments to come or the questions to come, I'll kind of recap what we have done in the session so far, in the previous session and the current session. So we started by talking about the golden rule of personal finance, which is that we should save first before we spend. And, in the previous session, we won't get into all the details now, but in the previous session, we discussed, why it is important to save. What are some of the challenges people have in saving, in this living in this consumerist materialistic society? How do we go about, prioritizing savings? We talked about the psychological aspect of money in the last session, but the point is save first. And that was the golden rule, income minus saving should be the expenses. That was the golden rule number one. The second thing that we talked about in the previous session was to put a money management system in place where the savings that you have, you use that to create assets that generate more income. If you have questions, I will request you to raise your hand so that we can take them up one by one. What should be the average? So Anjana, just give me a minute. We will come to that. So the second thing that we talked about was use the money that you're saving to create assets that generate more income. And that creates a virtuous cycle in which every time you create more and more assets, your income goes up. And I repeat the word income generating asset. So we're not talking about investing in land. We're not talking about investing in gold. It is income generating assets that we need to do. So that is what primarily we talked about in the first session. We have a comment from Anjana. Avdesh, would you like to respond to that? In the chat, she is asking, what should be the average rate of return to beat inflation?
All right. See,
also, Avdesh, I have one more, the second part to that question. Not only beat inflation, but take care of the future impact of inflation, because beating inflation, obviously you said 7%, but then if I need the money 10 years from now, then I have to, factor in the value of money then.
Yeah. So see, the inflation currently in our of late in our country has been around 5 to 5.5%, which is consumer price index inflation. But your lifestyle inflation is probably higher. So that's the minimum. If you maintain same kind of standard of living, 5.5%, depending on your spending pattern, also might be a little bit of variation. So you need to earn above 5.5% post tax. So if you put in something like FD kind of money or bond, which gives you around 6% today, 6%, you will all, depending on your income bracket, you might be, if you are in a 30% tax bracket, then you will lose 30% there itself, and 4.2 is the actual return which you get. So you will actually at a loss by that investment. It's a real loss, not notional loss. It's a real loss for you. So you have to look at the asset class which are giving you more than that. Okay. So more than that, what can give you, if you have such a long-term horizon, 10 years, which is big enough, and depending on your purpose and little bit of risk profile, I think you can go for certain funds. If we can even reduce risk, a balance fund can be a good option at time. But depending on your age and risk profile, one can advise you the right kind of fund which will give you this. 10 years good enough time to take a little bit of risk.
Just a quick question. From your perspective, is direct equity with appropriate advice a better option or a mutual fund?
If direct equity, please not take anybody's advice. Okay, it's such a volatile market, and fortune of companies keep changing very, very fast. If you are making an average investment in the market, the mutual fund does different thing. So mutual funds in that case is a safer bet. But direct would be something you have to rely on yourself, not outside. Okay. Yeah, we had question from Suresh Avdi.
Yeah, so we have a question from Tarun elsewhere.
Yeah.
So what's the question from Suresh? I think I missed that.
He was asking about some exit load or something. Yeah, please, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, assuming that we want to withdraw for a contingency from a SIP, my question was whether we should discard exit load units and then only withdraw the non-exit load units.
Non-exit load units. See, exit load normally in equities funds, you will not have exit load beyond 1 year. And there are a lot of funds which have less than 1 year exit load also. So it's a LIFO system, last in first out. So if you are withdrawing, you don't have an option that I will withdraw this unit, I'll withdraw that unit. If the fund is different, it's a different matter.
Different, correct. It's a different fund.
So it's all, and other thing is that if it's less than 1 year old, you will also attract a short-term capital gain taxes in case of both equity and debt fund. So it's always advisable to withdraw the older units where you do not have exit load and you have lesser tax.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you,
Avdesh,
Suresh.
can you just explain about this LIFO system? I didn't get that part.
Okay, LIFO, it's an accounting terminology. Sorry for last in, first out. This LIFO means last in, first out. So when you take your stock, whatever came last, so basically whatever came last will be exited first. Or FIFO is first in, first out. No, so actually FIFO was the system. I used the wrong word. FIFO is the right word.
Yeah, first in, first out. Yes.
First in, first out. Right.
Thank you.
Avdesh, there is a comment from Tamanna Gowda Patil saying that this is a good session. And which are the good SIPs according to you?
See, Tamanna, what can be good for you may not be good for me, or vice versa. So it is a question of what your risk profile is, what you want to achieve, and how much volatility you are willing to take, and what is the time frame you have. So there can't be, I mean, if I say this is a good fund, this may be a good fund, but this may not be a good fund for you, or that may not be a good fund for me. It has to be met with your purpose.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Any takeaways from the session today? Any one action that you're going to take after the session today? People say knowledge is power, but I disagree with that statement. I say application of knowledge is power. So if you are only here to take knowledge, it's not going to help you. Only when you act on the knowledge, it's going to help. While we're waiting for questions and comments, we are sharing the feedback form in the chat box. Please share your feedback. We deeply respect your feedback. And once you have filled out the feedback form, please type FD, feedback done, in the chat. And we will be, we really cherish your feedback. It takes less than 30 minutes to fill out the feedback form. Please do that. And we have also shared the link to our WhatsApp community. The Mindful Living WhatsApp community is where we share details of the awesome sessions that we conduct every Saturday. Next Saturday, Avdesh and I are getting together again, and we're going to talk about the psychology of money. As I shared earlier, our journey has been to realize that this finance is more about the psychology and behavior rather than the the technical part of it. So we're going to be talking from a very interesting book, Psychology of Money. It's a book reading session that we're going to do next Saturday. So please join the WhatsApp link, join our community to stay updated on the sessions that we're going to do. And while you are filling out the feedback form and joining us in the chat, I would also like to update you on the sessions we have planned for February. On 4th of February, World Cancer Day is the occasion for World Cancer Day. And we have dedicated all the sessions in the month of February to spread awareness about cancer. So the first session on 5th of February is going to be by Dr. Nupur Agrawal, who is from UK, on the mind-body connection. Then on 12th February, we will have Dr. Shalu, who works with the National Institute of Health in USA to talk about what causes cancer and how to prevent cancer. And then 19th February, we're going to have Sarmila talk about, she's a part of the session today, talk about forgiveness and letting go. And on 26th February, we are going to have Jayashree Kannan talk about plant-based whole food diet. She's a cancer survivor, having beaten cancer twice herself using plant-based whole food diet. So these are the sessions we have lined up, exciting sessions, very good international speakers. So please join our community to stay updated. And if you have filled out the feedback form, please type FD. And there is a question from Feroz. Are we considering crypto investment? Avdesh, your comments on that, please.
Yeah, so Feroz, crypto is something which still has to take legal shape. We won't be advising, but let me tell you something about this. That look, typically a currency which you have, either you have Indian rupee or dollar. If you pick up the currency note and you read that currency note, what is written on that? So it's signed by our, say, 500 rupees note, which we have, is signed by RBI governor, and it will say, I promise to pay bearer of this currency note a value of 500 rupees. Okay, so this is backed by an institution, government-backed institution, which has its credibility. Which we don't see in crypto. For somebody a conservative finance person like me, I don't know who's the most popular currency, Bitcoin. We don't even know who has started this. So individuals really can't start the currency, and it has to be backed by somebody. When RBI gives us 500 rupees, there are assets. There's some assets backed by it. There's gold which is lying in RBI chest or something like that. Some assets are there, which are that's how the currency is backed. Crypto has absolutely no backing of any kind of asset, and it is not started by government, and it is something which is only traded on exchange. So we were not very comfortable advising about crypto for that reason.
We look forward to your feedback. So please fill out the feedback form and type FD in the chat. We look forward to hearing from you, your questions and comments. Varun says crypto has no backbone. Thank you, Vikas. So friends, normally our sessions are an hour duration, but sometimes we block extra time so that, in case the discussions and question answers are more, so that you block more time and, we don't run out of time. But it appears that we don't have too many questions and queries, so we will bring the session to a close in a while, in a couple of minutes from now. Any last comments from anyone? Thank you, Suresh. Really appreciate your comments. Thank you, Harish, for filling out the feedback form. Avdesh, any closing comments from you?
Ashish, thank you for inviting me. I think it was very enjoyable. Hope it was useful for the participant.
Yes.
And if any other question, please.
Just like to share the bonus offer. We will just like to share the bonus offer. If you can put the slide up of this. There is a bonus offer, Avdesh. You can reach out to Avdesh to schedule a one-to-one consultation, and Avdesh's numbers are there. So in case you want to connect with me or Avdesh for a complimentary 30-minute one-to-one consultation, you could do so for any challenges on finance that you're facing. Avdesh has actively worked in the area of debt reduction, helping many people manage their debt very successfully, helping manage their wealth creation very successfully, and also protecting. Just to recap the session today, we talked about de-risking, taking care of the risks that are there to a wealth creation strategy. One of the risks we spoke about was the risk of our living too long, our dying too early, the risk of our health, the risk of inflation, risk of falling interest rates. These are the risks, and you can manage these risks by having a trusted financial advisor. Another risk that we talked about was the variability in the returns from stock market. So that is another risk, and all these risks can be navigated by having a trusted financial advisor. You could reach out to Avdesh to schedule your consultation with him. It's a complimentary consult, and he'll be happy to share his advice to you. We really appreciate your taking out time and joining us today. Thank you. Look forward to having you join us coming week for Psychology of Money, a book reading session. It's a very popular book, and on your way out, you could switch on your camera, unmute yourself, and say bye. Have a happy weekend, everybody. It's my time to chill out and party with my family. Hope you have a nice weekend as well. Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
God bless everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.